Welcome back, everyone. Couldn't be more excited today to be joined by Mike Leeder and Arne Venema. Y'all know them from hundreds of different commentaries and the thousands more they have yet to come, plus the Blu-ray production that they do on the side. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining today.
Oh, thanks so much for having us on. Yep.
Absolutely.
So maybe, I'm Arne Venema, by the way, for anybody who's getting the voices confused. And you, sir, are?
I'm Mike Leeder.
There you go. There's our Blu-ray intro. There you go.
I have to say, just from the outset, I discovered y'all because about roughly a year ago to 18 months ago, there was a day, and I can't remember the exact day now, but there was a day that I never thought would happen when Riki-Oh got a 3-disc limited edition special release.
Yes.
And the world just stopped for me because I never ever thought that movie would get that treatment.
Nor did we. No, we were very happy to work on that.
In Hong Kong, especially fancy what?
Yeah, that's the first kind of chunk of the commentary y'all give is how much that kind of damaged his career, unfortunately, which blows my mind because that movie is amazing.
Oh no, I mean, as I said in the commentary and everything, his family wanted me to come and live with them and teach him English, and they were like, he's going to be the next big action star.
Yeah.
And we're having a meeting before Story of Ricky comes out, and it's like, well, Danny Lee wants me to do 10 movies, Golden Harvest wants me to do these movies, and a week later it was like, it's all gone.
Yeah, basically did that movie, and after that it was just such a disaster. That's like, oh my god, no.
Crazy, right?
Poor guy, man. Great movie. I love live action style anime films, and as far as Story Ricky goes, hell yeah, it's really good. I love that movie.
So good.
And as we said, the funny thing is, in Hong Kong it was either completely forgotten or people remembered it as, oh yeah, the movie that destroyed his career. Yeah.
My father-in-law said that, actually. He was like, oh man, that's insane. What's coming out, that's a great movie. He liked it, so yeah.
I don't know how you could watch that and not like it, but I think a lot of it just has to do with expectations on release. But then 6 months later ish, there's a company here in the US called MVD Rewind.
Yes.
That I think in the UK, the partner label that did this was 101, and they put out a release of Split Second, and I saw y'all's name again.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second.
Well, a Dutchman and an Englishman on the same release. I mean, come on, let's make this happen.
No, exactly. And it's like, we both love that movie.
Oh yeah.
That's as cheesy as it's going to sound. It's so good getting to revisit some of these movies.
Oh yeah.
And to share thoughts on them, and also things that that we've learned over the years. I did an audio commentary with Ronnie Yu, the director of Legacy of Rage, and I thought I knew that movie backwards. And Ronnie educated me.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, no, Mike, you're coming from the wrong angle. This is completely not what happened, And it's just great to get a chance to revisit them and also see these films getting that thing. I mean, as you said, with Story of Ricky, I remember, when it would be going to Chinatown, hunting down second or third generation VHS. Often that had no subtitles. Often that had, was maybe a full screen print. If it did have subtitles, you couldn't read half of it. And the fact that movies like that now can get, a special edition release, the most remastered version, uncut, interviews with cast and crew, things like that, commentaries by people. It's exactly what, as a child, I never thought would be possible for Hong Kong film. Yeah.
Well, the reason I like those Blu-ray releases so much myself is because when I was younger, and I'm going to date myself here, I used to go to the video store and see all the covers of all the movies when you went in, and you just you saw like this crazy artwork, and you grab it and you watch it, and sometimes you got a really great movie, and sometimes you got piece of crap or whatever else, but every now and again you got a bit of gold. And it seems to be, but because of that, anybody from that era has a really good kind of embedded film education in a weird way. We're very aware of stuff that happened, and because of labels like MVD or Eureka and stuff like that, people kind of have a chance to revisit that education, like kind of like get access to all the coolest films, and they filtered out all the crap. So you're getting the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? And something like Split Second is in there. So yeah, it's really good.
But y'all talk about this on one of the interviews. That I know, Mike, you mentioned it on a really good interview that I would push people to, called Untold Story or Untold Stories. I'll link it. But you know, you kind of talk about people are missing the art of watching bad movies, and not
No,
the so bad.
100%. I think it's okay. Like in the early 90s, when I think it was Rim Films started doing a lot of distribution in America, so many people, their first introduction to Hong Kong film then was they went and saw Police Story 3 Supercar, and were blown away. And then Rim Films went, and next week we have the top 5 John Woo movies, and everybody saw them all in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
you know, and then we're like, oh, this Wong Jing movie doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. They lost that thing of when you would go to town and exactly look at a video cover or a poster that seems sometimes zero relevance to what's going on in the movie. You know,
there's a few of those.
Yeah, like I remember going to see A Better Tomorrow, and my friend, it was like a double bill, I think, of A Better Tomorrow and Peking Opera Blues.
Okay.
And my friends didn't want to go and see A Better Tomorrow because the poster in England, the first poster was Chow Yun-fat, T. Leung, Leslie Cheung, and Emily Chu all smiling and leaning on a chair, and they were like, "This
like a rom-com or something."
Yeah. So I was like, "Well, I'll go first, and I'll save the seats." And when my friends arrived, I was like, "This is the best movie, guys!" You know. And I think that's the thing that, like, you know, trailers nowadays in marketing gives away so much.
Well,
like, you think about it when we were kids. Imagine how cool the Phantom Menace would have been in the cinema if you didn't know that Ray Park was going to go zoom, zoom.
Well,
exactly.
If you didn't know that, if spoilers here, but I guess there's no spoilers because in Terminator Genesis, they spoil that John Connor was the villain.
No, exactly.
Like, what?
Yeah,
like,
2 weeks before the movie comes out. By the way, guys, Kaiser Sose is really this guy.
No. Like, but when they did that, that was just horrendous marketing. I was like, oh, okay, that's great, man. Why don't we just give away every villain? And like that to me was just, who was in charge? Had they ever seen a movie before? Did they know what a trailer was? Because like that was astoundingly bad marketing. But yeah, I know. That's just my little Terminator Genesis complaint there. But it's just bizarre.
I think Hong Kong, and this is a weird thing to tie in here, but the pornography of New York in the 70s share something in common in that, you know, Bill Lustig tells some interesting stories about how on 42nd Street, I believe it was, where all the theaters were just basically porn, you had to attract people in. So your posters got real creative and your taglines got real creative, and it had nothing to do with the movie, but it was just something that would kind of draw people in. And then, you know, he kind of took that to Anchor Bay and Blue Underground throughout his. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's talking about 42nd Street and marketing. I mean, we're going to be a tangent here, but there's a film that had some awesome marketing called Dr. Butcher, Medical Deviant. And what they did for that was the marketing there was, I think it was Bill Lustig who did it as well. They got like a huge like ambulance. They got like an ambulance out there, and then they got like a medical bed, and this guy looking like this crazy medical doctor out there. I love stuff like that. That is freaking amazing. So yeah, no, I think that's I love.
And it's exactly that. I mean, like, the funny thing is, like, when people complain about the Americanization of certain Hong Kong movies, I remember back in the day talking to Brian White at Hong Kong Legends, and we were saying the problem is, can you imagine the outroar if we re-release some of these movies and we use the original Chinese title? Like, there's a movie with Gordon Liu called Dirty Ho. And the greatest tagline of all time, you haven't lived until you fought Dirty Ho, and then you're dead. Yeah.
That's a good tagline. I like it.
The Chinese title is The 11th Prince. And we were like,
I like Dirty Ho.
Yeah. We're re-releasing it as The 11th Prince. Everyone would complain. And you know, especially in the 70s, the marketing, And it's like in the Philippines marketing for movies is literally, let me just lie to your face.
Bat
to
shit
get you
crazy.
to the cinema.
Yeah. Bat
like,
shit crazy.
You know, this is a movie directed by Steven Spielberg's brother, Arne Venema, starring Bruce Lee's disciple, shot on a budget of $7 billion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And I
Some
strangled
SOV,
Chewbacca
like-
with my bare hands and wears like
Yeah.
fur as a coat.
like,
It just makes shit
there's
up.
a movie my friend David Huey directed, a super low budget American martial arts movie called Capital Punishment, starring Gary Daniels and David
Oh, good
Carradine.
title.
The Philippines title was Bloodsport 2, and the poster proclaimed Bruce Lee's brightest disciple, contemporary of Chuck Norris,
Oh.
and the man who killed Jean-Claude Van Damme in the 1990 Bloodsport Invitational.
Oh,
He didn't defeat him, he
He
killed
killed
him.
him. He flat out
Yeah.
murdered him. Can you imagine if a Van Damme film came out a week later? Go, they were lying.
Damn it.
Same thing. There's a movie
Some producer
called
trying to cover up all the
College
Van Damme films.
Kickboxers. There's a movie called College Kickboxers, which is like a Karate Kid riff. In the Philippines and Taiwan, it was Young Van Damme, the true story.
okay.
You know? And it's just exactly that. It's grindhouse marketing.
Yeah.
but
I love
that's what you
grindhouse,
love.
man.
That's what gets you into the cinema. Yeah.
I would love, some people ask us sometimes if we'd like to do audio commentaries for what other films we like to do it. I'd love to do some good old Filipino grindhouse, like
Oh my
Roger
gosh.
Corman, like Sirio Santiago, post-apocalyptic movies, man. Because
Oh,
that
hell yeah.
stuff
I
is
mean,
great.
I've been lucky enough to work with Roger, and I was lucky enough to work with Sirio, and like the stories they have, and
Oh,
just the making of those movies is just the stuff that has been going on some of those films is just
Yeah.
Well, I asked Godfrey because Godfrey Ho worked in the Philippines as well, Lethal Panther and stuff like that. And he basically at one point I asked him, Godfrey, did you ever meet Roger Corman? And he goes, oh yeah, we met each other. I go, really? He's like, yeah, we were in the lobby, we had a drink together, and we just sat there together. And
No way.
I was like, did you guys think about working together? We had a drink and we decided it wasn't gonna, it probably would be best not to work together, but he's a nice guy. I'm like, oh, okay. And that was that. But Godfrey Ho and Roger Corman met in a lobby in
Talk
in
about
Manila.
a dinner party.
Yeah, and they just
Well,
met and
but
had a
then-
drink together, but they were aware of one another, 100%.
But then I can beat that. I met Roger Corman for the first time in the Holiday Inn in Chim Sa Choi. By accident, he was just sitting in the lobby, and I was like, "Excuse me, you're Roger Corman." And then the next day, I went back for a meeting with somebody else, and Francis Ford Coppola was in the Holiday Inn
Oh shit.
because he was in Hong Kong to promote his wine, and I was like, "Why are you in the Holiday Inn?" Like,
Yeah,
like
seriously.
Roger Corman, I understand being at the Holiday Inn. Roger's like, it's a bed, I can sleep. I was
That's
like,
on
Francis,
brand.
why are you in the Holiday Inn?
But he
Yeah.
strikes me as a very practical man, Francis Ford Coppola. I've obviously never met him, but he
Really?
strikes me.
Have you heard about the making of Apocalypse Now? Have you heard?
Well, not that, but like I think he's still after Apocalypse Now and after the conversation and stuff. He's still got a film production company going, and it seems to be that they're constantly doing work. You don't always hear about it, but
I mean, that's the
to keep
crazy
that
thing.
going
He's
for
still
that
making
long?
movies. Yeah.
To keep a career going that long as a director and b as someone who can finance their own films and
Yeah.
work with like some really like out there individuals as well. You have to be a practical human being and figure out, okay, Apocalypse Now was insane. But like I think he learned his lesson. Of course, we've never seen something like Apocalypse Now since then. So we do have that, but yeah, but to keep it going that long, man. Like, so if you're staying at the Holiday Inn, well, maybe that
that's one
explains
trick,
it.
right?
Yeah.
This is all amazing intro to one of the big questions that I had. So
Sure.
y'all have casually thrown around a lot of some amazing names, and you're at a point in your career where you have casual connections with Roger Corman and Godfrey Ho, personally, and all that.
Yes.
But I'd love to hear a little bit more because I think it's easy for listeners and me as I go through your interviews that you've done to kind of just take it for granted that y'all know these people.
Mhm.
But there was a time in your life when you didn't, right?
Oh,
And
sure. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about how this journey's been for y'all, because it's nice to be on this end where you're casting for, was it Mission Impossible, one of the Mission Impossible movies, or you're casting for some of the what was there's other it's just these giant Hollywood movies that need Asian talent, and you're kind of you're the person that knows them, so you're casting for them, or you're creating music that's used in movies throughout the region and throughout the world.
Mhm.
But is it possible to go back a little bit and just kind
Sure.
of talk about, how was those first couple of years? And what, I kind of, there's an amazing interview. I'll just reference this with Disconnected. There's an amazing interview I already mentioned with Untold Story, and there's a really good one with Hong Kong Appreciation Society. So people
Yeah,
can
yeah.
go, and I'll link them, and they give some background, but I'd like to just go a little deeper. Like, can you
Sure,
walk me
sure.
through what that was like when y'all kind of first got in?
Mike, you want to go first, or shall I go first?
Well, yeah. Back in the dark ages,
Before electricity.
before electricity, in the years before laser discs and everything. Yeah,
I
in the
love
days
laser discs, man.
where VHS was high tech.
Yeah.
I was what some of my friends in England give me shit about is I used to take the piss out of Hong Kong movies all the time.
Okay.
I was not a kung fu movie fan. I was always like, okay, so before I fight Chris, I'm going to show him my style of kung fu so he can see exactly what I'm going to do. That's stupid. Because a lot of my friends would just rent anything. And then one day, I remember very well, myself, Leslie Toff, a guy called Asher, a guy called Chris Brennan, and another friend of mine, Paul Clifford. We, shall we say, decided to take the afternoon off school and went to the local, like one of the local video shops that very happily rented 5 guys in school uniform, the 18 rated versions of Snake and the Eagle Shadow and Drunken Master on Betamax with Neil Adams artwork, and they were awesome. And we watched them back to back. And I just fell in love with Hong Kong film and was like, this is fucking awesome. I love this.
Yeah.
And then I kept telling people, I think I'm going to go to Hong Kong at some point. And it was a British colony. And I was like, I know I can stay there if I want to stay there. I don't have to get a visa, blah, blah, blah. And I was working as a manager in a department store and I was bored shitless.
This is another connection I want to I'm so sorry to interrupt, Mike. So my very first job in sales back in 2007 was selling lighting. And I think that's how you had, that's what you were doing at that time, right?
I used to sell lighting in the largest lighting department in Europe, Alton of Croydon, sadly long gone. But basically I was there and I was like, I'd be watching Hong Kong movies and I'd start seeing people like Jeff Falcon, Richard Norton, Mark Houghton, Bruce Fontaine, etc., popping up in films. I was like, maybe if I just went over there, like maybe I could get in a movie. Okay. And I figured maybe at least I get to see a movie being made. And I was already writing for a few like fan magazines and things. Like I was writing stuff for Rick Baker for Eastern Heroes and doing little bits here for magazines like Combat in the UK.
So sorry, really quick. How long has Eastern Heroes been around for?
Forever, you child.
Wow. That's crazy because he's still going, Rick Baker. So shout out to him.
I decided, you know what? I'm going to go to Hong Kong. Okay. And I said to my friends, I'm going to Hong Kong. And they all very privately had a bet on how long I would stay.
Okay.
And I did absolutely zero research. I was just like, Hong Kong, British colony. People speak Cantonese and English. Job done. I'm on the way.
Okay.
And I arrived in Hong Kong. And no sooner did I got off the plane did I realize the level of English in Hong Kong was not what I was expecting.
Because you were thinking like British colony.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And like I think Arne will testify, but like Hong Kong has its own unique way. Like only Hong Kong can you get in a taxi and the taxi driver will refuse to take you somewhere because it's too close.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Then we'll
Or too
refuse to
far.
take you somewhere else because it's too far away.
Yeah.
And this is where you get, especially when you first come and you're like, I know I'm gullible, but people are lying to me. If you want to get a taxi that crosses from Hong Kong Island to Kowloon side, you have to walk up to the car and do this. And that signifies to the driver, oh, he wants swimming. He wants to take a taxi across the harbor.
Yeah, you do this. Yeah, you do that. Well, we're on a video podcast. We're basically waving our hands in a wave-like motion.
When you first come to Hong Kong,
this is audio.
You're like, okay, everyone's just fucking with me. You're like, oh, if you want to get a taxi, go there and do this.
Yeah.
So I arrived in Hong Kong, and at the time it was the Kai Tak airport in the middle of the city. Landed, and back then, as soon as the plane landed, you got this horrible smell from the Nula, the reclaimed land around the airport. It was like a very disgusting smell, but it made you realize I'm in Hong Kong.
Yeah, Kai Tak airport, yeah.
Yeah, and then I booked a hotel room at the YMCA back in the days when the YMCA was cheap.
That's disgusting. Yeah.
And you know, and I arrived there and they announced, oh, as of next week, we are no longer the YMCA. We are the YMCA hotel, and we'll now be charging you this amount of money.
Oh, no.
And I arrived and I went for a walk, and I just went, this place is fucking awesome. And I fell in love, and 34 years later, I'm still here.
Two quick questions for you on that. So do you remember your route? Because I imagine there was no London to Hong Kong flight direct.
I flew London to Amsterdam.
Okay.
Hey, there you go.
To Bangkok to Hong Kong.
Oh, that's such a long day.
Yeah. And
it's a flight.
remember, this was in the days where entertainment on a plane, a screen would come down.
Yeah.
If
I remember
you were
that.
awake, there was no pause. There was no rewind.
Yeah.
You got to make sure your headphones work too.
Yeah. And it was just, I landed and I realized that, how to say, it's not like, oh, and overnight I became a star, but on my second day, I got a job. Yeah.
Wow.
I got hired to be in a commercial. I'm like, stardom is mine. I'm dancing on the waterfront because I have diarrhea. And an old Chinese actor, Wu Fong, comes up to me dancing himself, but he's got a happy smile. And he goes, why is in you? And gives me this Chinese medicine. And I stop clutching my stomach, and me and him start dancing.
Are you telling me this is...
Did they give you the weird foreigner Cantonese voice? Because that's what they do to everybody down here.
Not on that one. That one I was just like, I was miming. Like, and basically Wu Fong is like, look at this foreigner. He has diarrhea. Yeah, because I'm like...
Please tell me that commercial is still airing somewhere.
Sadly, yes. It's still on Hong Kong TV.
I think you should post that commercial to your Instagram, Mike.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think you really
there
should.
There were no residuals, so I got paid, I think, 50 quid. And that was the last money I ever saw of that. So yeah. And then at the time, Hong Kong was at its most prolific. It was like 400 to 500 movies a year.
Amazing.
And people were like, hey, you want to come and work on this movie as an extra? Hey, you want to do this? And very quickly, I bumped into some of the guys like Jeff Falcon, Mark Houghton, Ken Goodman, Bruce Fontaine. I actually managed to meet Donnie and John Salvetti and Mike Woods on, I think, my second or third night in Hong Kong.
Oh my gosh.
As you do.
Past the cinema,
Seriously.
and I saw the poster for Skinny Tiger, Fatty Dragon.
Oh yeah.
And I went in, and they were like, no, it's coming next week. And then I saw Donnie Yen, and I was like, but fuck that, I'm gonna go and say hello. And he was like, oh, you want a ticket? and it was a midnight screening, and they gave me a ticket. And
Ah,
bizarrely, we're all still friends that many years later. You know.
amazing.
There you go.
And then it just kind of like it. I will admit that I'm a very bad martial artist. I don't train hard enough. I don't train regularly. So I knew I wasn't going to get the one-on-one with Jackie Chan. So I ended up getting behind the camera more, like helping with casting, helping sometimes with like marketing for the international stuff. I volunteered my services to do subtitles, and companies were like, no thanks, no need for that. We don't care about them. Because by law, they had to have English subtitles.
Oh, okay.
Which is why Hong
Pretty
Kong
common.
film was always that much more accessible, because
Yeah.
it was the law. You had to show them with subtitles.
Interesting.
And then just over the years, just stuck it out and got into doing casting, got into producing, was doing a lot of writing for magazines, getting up to a lot of mischief, I will admit.
Okay.
Like the Hong Kong was a very crazy place at that time. There were a lot of characters and a lot of crazy things happening. Yeah.
I definitely want to hear more about that. But Arno, what about you? How does?
Well, how I ended up here was kind of it kind of goes back. The reason I ended up here almost goes back to before I was born. So, post World War II, the 1950s, the Netherlands was bombed flat. There was nothing left basically. And my grandfather on my mom's side ended up taking like some tests, and they go, "Oh, you have aptitude for mathematics and everything else." He got a bunch of job offers abroad, and they go, "Oh, you want to go to America?" He goes, "No." "You want to go to Australia?" He goes, "No." "You want to go to Thailand?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll go to Thailand. No one else is going there. It's smart, no competition. I'll just go there." So he ended up going to Thailand and working for a company called the Borneo Company, which was a company that import and export and everything else. And he did pretty well there, and eventually ended up running this company. And on my mom's side, my mom and both her siblings, her brothers, were all born in Thailand. So when I came around years later, she met my father in the Netherlands. She's ethnically Dutch, but speaks Thai fluently, had a Thai passport, everything else. So my mom goes back to the Netherlands at some point for around 19 years old, 18, 19, meets my dad. They get married. They have me in Sweden. And basically what ends up happening is basically every summer we went, or almost every summer, we went back to Bangkok. So I ended up becoming, with my mom, like, she's white. She like all the food was Thai, like everything else is very much a Thai woman in a white, like in an ethnically white person. So basically we went back every summer. And while I was there, sometimes we'd also go to Hong Kong. So, and through that, through osmosis kind of, I absorbed like Asian cinema, Hong Kong cinema, Thai cinema, Japanese cinema. Like I was watching Thai ghost movies and TV shows, not knowing what the hell was going on screen. Like when I was a little kid. I'm terrified of Foon Harkon because like all the movies that he's in as well. Because he scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. Now when we do audio commentaries, I still get a bit of a chill. I don't know why. I'm sure he was a nice man.
Moment when he takes off the face.
That Warriors, there's many moments. The Warriors 2 one. I saw that as a kid late at night with a thunderstorm outside in Bangkok, and that scared the hell out of me, man. I must have been like 8 years old, whatever. And I saw that, and that just scared the bejesus out of me. So so he all scares me. But anyway, what happened was eventually I went to university. I was really in Hong Kong cinema and Asian cinema overall, but I loved movies. We moved every about 4 years of my life growing up. My dad worked in the pharmaceutical industry. Eventually I'm in the Netherlands. I got my first degree in like communications and marketing. I had to do a final project along with a thesis paper, and I convinced 50 other students to start an Asian film festival in the Netherlands. We did that, and I kind of was a ringleader of that, and people were helping and stuff. And we actually managed to get the rights to show certain films from Hong Kong. We showed Beast Cops. We showed A Snake in June from Shinya Tsukamoto, who's from Japan. We showed a whole bunch of like cool films. And basically after that, I was like, man, like I got my my marketing degree. I really want to go to film school, and I love these movies so much. So I ended up going to the Hong Kong Film Academy in Hong Kong, originally to study for a while. While I was at the Hong Kong Film Academy, two things happened. Firstly, Godfrey Ho was one of the lecturers there. And so Godfrey, actually, I knew a bit how to edit because I had to make a film to get in there. And I was also making short films and like little promo videos for whatever I was doing. Like that film festival I directed and shot. I directed that promo video and edited it and everything else. And then I met Godfrey at film school and he noticed I loved movies. And Godfrey loves movies. So what happened was he was teaching me and he showed me how to edit, but I kind of ended up hanging out with him. Like, because we were just talking about movies the whole time. It basically like the student teacher thing was there, and I respected him, but we just both loved movies. And we were talking like we talk like El Mariachi. We watch El Mariachi, and he break down the scenes, and he showed me the ninja films and how he did that, and he just showed me like how action direction worked and everything else. So while I was there, I got contacted by someone else in the Netherlands because I was doing that film festival, and they go, "Hey." A company called BioWorld Merchandising, and they go, "Hey, we have all the merchandising rights for like 50 Cent, Linkin Park, Rolling Stones, Eminem, everything else. We have no foothold in Asia. Could you get like the merchandise from these companies, from these brands, stuff like that? We're supposed to represent them. Could you get that in stores?" I'm like, okay. So I ended up getting in front of the buyer of HMV through one way or another, and all the merch, and I made a deal, and all the merchandise they sold at HMV is gone now, sadly, but all the merchandising they sold at HMV, that was through my company.
Oh shit.
So for Hong Kong and for Singapore, and eventually started representing other brands. And for that, we eventually got involved with Korea and everything else, South Korea, and I got like wrappers and stuff to wear t-shirts and from all these brands. So I kind of got a little bit familiar with the Hong Kong and the Korean hip hop industry.
Okay.
And then through that, I started meeting people like who are former members of a group called LMF, who are really big here. I started meeting members of Yaseme, 24 Herbs, and they would introduce me to other people. And all of a sudden, I'm hanging out with some of those guys, and they go, because there's some crossover with the hip hop industry and the movie industry, obviously. And someone goes, "Oh, have you ever met Sam Lee?" I go, "Fuck, Biozombie and stuff? Hell yeah, man!" And they go, "Well, he's in a place called Club Magazine. Would you like to meet Sam Lee?" So I go and I meet Sam Lee, and he's there, and he's super friendly. And I'm talking about movies, and he's going, yeah. And I go, "By the way, the movie that I really love, that really represents Hong Kong, that no Blu-ray labels released, that we work with at least, is called Beast Cops." He goes, "Oh, that was a great year." And yeah, and you made Biozombie the same year. And he clicked on when I said Biozombie, went, "Oh yeah, zombies." He did the zombie thing. "I can't believe you've seen that. That's so cool. Oh, we love making that movie. That's so great."
Wow.
And then I kind of just kept meeting other people, and we're advertising in magazines. They'd introduce me to other people. And at some point, I met a guy named Spencer Douglas, who was a local producer and everything else. Right now, he works at the NBA right now, but he was a local producer guy. And we kind of started working together on things. And I started doing music videos. And I also did like a lot, when you used to go to Toys R Us, again, it dates me. You used to see like toy commercials, you see those little screens and they show people using the toys, like, and all that stuff.
Of course,
And, like I've shot tons of those.
Oh, no way. Nice.
So chances are, if you were in the US, you could have seen those, because a lot of those toys are made in China.
Sure.
And the companies that make them were here in Hong Kong, and they go, "Hey, we need something that works for the US market." So we'd find a place in Hong Kong, like a beach or something that looked like, America, whatever. And I'd shoot these things. I did a bunch of those. And then eventually Spencer goes, "Hey, there's a guy who's shooting a short film. Do you want to come on the set?" And me and a guy named Joe Frella, who we've mentioned in numerous audio comms, who's as mad as a hatter. Like, I think we did Hong Kong Appreciation Society. We brought him on once. He goes, "Yeah, let's go like to the set." And there was a big burly bald man behind, on this set, behind a huge like comic book like contraption
I was
thing.
in a comic book strip club.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. And I was in the scene as well. And then basically we just kind of started talking. And I think that's and we kind of became friends from there, because again, like being really in love with movies and liking movies. And Mike and I, we love canon films. We love we love Hong Kong cinema. We like grindhouse films, exploitation films. I love Japanese cinema. I love Thai cinema. Like, so I think we had a very common language.
This is how mad it is. Eureka put out a box set of like the Bob Hope, Bing Crosby movies, and we were like,
"Oh yeah,
we love those movies." And Eureka were like, "What?"
Yeah, they were genuinely stunned. They're like, "What do you mean?"
"Oh, you should have called us." Yeah.
That's awesome.
The Ghostbreakers. Yeah. We were like, "Oh my god, the Ghostbreakers!" They're like, "Oh." They're like, okay, we'll let you guys do more like other stuff. But shout out to Eureka for that. They had no way of knowing, but like Well, yeah. So that's kind of I accelerated a little bit, but basically, yeah, being to Thailand a lot, still go to Thailand a lot. Like Bangkok's my second home. I know it really well. And yeah, the Asian influence. I mean, half my relatives speak like, Thai, and my brother's born in Japan. And so I lived in Japan for a while as well. So shout out to my brother Keigo. Yeah, no, and it's just yeah, so Hong Kong wasn't, and I love art and movies and music, and I'm deep into all that stuff, and I'm constantly working on stuff like that. So Hong Kong seemed like a logical place to go because it was a powerhouse for that, and it was quite a, yeah, again, the English level was here as well, and so yeah, it seemed like a logical place to go.
Two questions that come out of that immediately. One of
Yeah.
them I don't intend to spend too much time on, but I have to ask my impression of Hong Kong. I told y'all before we started recording, I grew up in Indonesia and I spent
Yes.
a lot of time in Singapore, but I think either Hong Kong or Taipei has the best food. So is it Hong Kong, do you think?
Ooh, that is
Okay, well, my son's in Taipei, so I have to say Taiwanese food is very good.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. That's a
And
very good question.
Singapore, I like, but Singapore is Hong Kong if someone had come and cleaned it up and tidied
Yeah,
up.
it was
just
scrubbed it down. Yeah, we like
Well,
a little bit.
and charged 3 times more. That's the thing, right? Because like Hong Kong, when you're on the street, you can get like this unbelievably flavorful food for very cheap.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, during COVID that kind of slowed down a bit, but it's kind of coming back now, so that's really good. But yeah, you can still get a pretty cheap bowl of noodles in Hong Kong for like 40 Hong Kong dollars or something like that, or 50 Hong Kong dollars.
Just the other day, I mean, it was like I had like chicken satay. You had the soup the other day, and I think it was like
it wasn't much.
$5.
Yeah, it wasn't much. It wasn't much. No.
Yeah.
Like
that was yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So some ways Hong Kong's an expensive city for rent and things like that, but in other ways, being in Hong Kong, like for like food and tech, like it's super cheap still. So compared to anywhere else in the world.
That's the funny thing as well, because everyone always tells you, "Oh, Hong Kong is so expensive for rent," and when you first come here, it is. Like, I arrived, and part of the problem is my brain did not differentiate between US dollars and Hong Kong dollars.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, $5 for a can of Coca-Cola. What? This is just a ripoff, you know. But then, like, you realize, there's certain areas in Hong Kong where the rent is ridiculous. But there's also lots of areas where it's very nice thing. Like funny thing is, Arne lives in the city. I live in the countryside.
But I live in a haunted building. That's why my rent is lower.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Story. That's true story.
My building almost became haunted the other week. Yeah,
that's right. That's true. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But rents aren't that bad when you look at them now and compare them to places like London or Los Angeles, or
New York,
and like
very
public
high.
Transport here is cheap and efficient
and very good. Yeah. The best thing about living in Hong Kong for me is that it's small enough you can get anywhere pretty damn quickly.
Yeah, like if I grab a taxi from where I am to where Arne is, it'll probably cost me about $20 US. But it's a good 45-minute journey.
That's cool.
Blah, blah, blah. So when I go back to England and I get in a taxi and they're like, "Yeah, it's £10 just to get in the taxi," and I'm like,
"It's £100 no matter where you go."
Yeah, and I'm like, "Excuse me."
Yeah.
And I remember I was back in England a couple of years ago, and I was flying out on New Year's Day.
Okay.
So one of my friends said, "Look, I live near the airport. Come and spend the night at my place, and then it's easier for you to get to the airport in the morning." So I get a taxi on New Year's Eve, and the driver goes, "I have to charge you double because it's New Year's Eve." And I was like, "It's like 2:00 in the afternoon, dude, and we're going away from the city." Like, if I was going into the middle of London at 10:00 in the evening, I completely understand.
Yeah.
So Hong Kong is like anywhere, depending on where you want to eat, where you want to live. You can have the two extremes. And
amazing.
So
amazing. Well, then, and kind of leads into the second question here, because you start talking about the difference between cultures, and I'd love to get your all's take on this. So when you look at some of the best, let's call it genre cinema or exploitation cinema,
Yes.
it's from Asia, right? It's from Japan, and it's from Category 3 in Hong Kong, and it's from the Philippines, and it's from Indonesia. Has some wild and wacky stuff. And I
Yeah.
have my own opinion on this, but my opinion doesn't matter. I would love to hear what y'all's take on why do you think, what is it about what you've experienced from living there for now 30 years? What is it about those cultures that allows for this kind of fringe art where you can make a random movie about, you know, a bathtub, and then at the last 10 minutes of it is a cat monster, right?
Because
Oh,
how to say, here, if you want to make a pretentious movie, okay, you go find your own money. You want to
Okay.
make a movie that's commercial. People are more interested, like it's only in Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan. Commercial cinema, action, horror, exploitation is very strong, and the same thing that it's very common here for filmmakers to jump between genres and jump between the styles. It's like the same with crew. Like, I remember I was doing a shoot for Dragon Dysentery, the Weinstein label, years ago, and I was laughing because my sound man was from Wongawe, my cameraman was working for Wong Jing, and they both like, "Oh, I've got a day off on Thursday. Yeah, I'll come and do it."
Wow.
And there's not that. No, I only make high class movies now. Don't talk to me. There's a very, everything crosses over. It's a very kind of incestuous in the way that we all know each other. We all hear of each other. People are like Wong Jing, for instance.
Okay.
Wong Jing, everybody regards him as just purely commercial.
Okay.
The amount of award-winning films that Wong Jing has produced,
yeah,
that
that's
he
true.
hasn't got his name on,
Yeah,
because he's like, if I put my name on it,
it's part
people
of
expect Benny Hill.
it's a branding
So
thing with Wong Jing.
finance the movie, and it. And the thing is, here it's like, when I first arrived, one of the things that was very surprising was how disposable a lot of people here regard film. Like, when I first arrived, I assumed it was going to be like England or America, that there'd be memorabilia, there'd be poster shops, there'd be everything. I arrived, none of that.
Still none of that.
VHS. Okay, well, it's 55 US. What? No. Can I get a sell-through? There is no sell-through market.
Yeah.
There was no collector's market. Very, very little legitimate memorabilia, like T-shirts, posters, etc., were unheard of. Like, back in the day, I was known to sometimes walk around Hong Kong late at night with a set of Allen keys, opening display cases on bus shelters and outside cinemas, and helping myself to materials, because even the production companies were like, "Oh no, we can't give you any materials."
Yeah,
like,
I tried that. I went recently to a cinema around my house, and I was like, "Hey guys, can I have some of the posters from the Japanese and Hong Kong films? Are you done with them?" They said no. But you got to throw them away. Yeah, but you can't have them. We have to destroy them. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
like, what?
There's that kind of sensibility. Like, there used to be a cinema in one area, Causeway Bay, and they were knocking it down, and it had a huge Shaw Brothers icon outside.
Okay.
So I went there to buy it. And I was like, "Hi, can I speak to the supervisor of the construction site? I would like to buy that sign. I could give you a couple of $100 US for it." And he was like, no. It has to be returned to Shaw Brothers. I come back 5 minutes later, I've got a bit more money, and there's someone hitting it with a hammer.
Yeah, sledgehammer destroying it. Yeah, they do that. They don't care. They don't care. They just don't give a damn.
There used to be a magazine here called Cinemart. And Cinemart was a film and TV and Star magazine. And it was a perfect way to run a business, because if you wanted to be on the cover, you paid $1,000.
Sure.
And you supplied the photos. If you wanted
Okay.
a color page, it was $200 and you supplied the photos. If you wanted a black and white page, whatever. The publisher was a guy called Alpha Lau. And I was always telling him, look, we should do a bilingual version. We should do some English language info. And if you pick up things like the original Asian trash cinema book, they just took entire pages out of his magazine
Okay.
and republished them. And that first book's incredible, because Andy Lau is also Chan Wai Man and T.S. Eliot and about 50 other people. But like, Alpha had all these materials, and he ran the magazine for like 40 years. So he had all this stuff. Then he was like, oh, I'm going to close the magazine. So I said to him, how about this? Let me write a book, like the best of cinema, and I'll write the book, you supply all the pictures, and we'll split the profits. Oh, no, I don't want to do that, Mike. I want someone to buy all the pictures. And I'm like, okay, but you need to list them. You need to document what they are.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Sure.
I can't do that. Well, that's too much trouble. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do with them? Oh, well, I'll just throw them away. I'm like, well, why don't you give them to me? Oh, no, Mike,
They don't care. They don't care.
This was the best bit. He calls me up, and we have a typhoon coming. So it's really heavy rain. And he goes, oh, Mike, just to let you know, I cleared everything out of my office today. It's all in a skip outside my building. My wife said I should let you know in case you want any of it. And being an idiot, I traipsed all the way to Chimsachoi and climbed into a skip and tried to salvage pictures that were all
Good
now
luck at that within a typhoon. Yeah,
it's
much. So
like Arne and me have seen it in like there's a
yeah, we found 35 millimeter prints like in
35
Shamshi
millimeter reels of film from movies.
Yeah.
And people were like, film is
molded to
disposable.
shit, by the way.
Yeah. So it's that very weird thing of like, for the longest time, people would be like, but why are you restoring this film? This film, because here people, okay, Chris saw it at the cinema. He then maybe rented the laser disc, and then he saw it on TV. There you go. That's the 3 revenue streams. It's done.
Yeah.
Some companies thought outside. IFD, they thought outside the box. They kept all their stuff pretty well stored, which is like the Godfrey Ho Joseph Light.
Clever enough to realize
they're clever.
Hong Kong,
so they went international.
Yeah.
I'd like to come back.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to come back to the premise of why the grindhouse stuff or the genre stuff in Asia worked. I think, well, first of all, I think I love exploitation and Italian genre pictures, because I live in Italy and stuff like that, and I watch a bunch of those, and I live in Australia and I love those too. But when it comes, I think Japan's a good place to really understand why it's so like that, because I think around like after Akira came out in 1988, they started generating a lot of OVAs. So we're talking like Biohunter, Wicked City, which started as an OVA, but then became longer and all that stuff. And then what happened was the video producers, as the cinema market was going down, was like, okay, if we produce cheaper films that were like violent and crazy and really like, aimed at a certain audience, like, exploitative film, exploit the audience, then we can make more money off that audience for a cheaper amount. And we put them direct to video and stuff like that. So, and then basically we let the directors like just go nuts. And a lot of new directors got their chance, like Takashi Miike got his chance, and you get, a lot of stuff like that going on. So you get like Visitor Q and films like Lady Battle Cop, which is like Japan's RoboCop like film. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I've been telling labels to pick this one up, by the way. Just a quick side note. It's about a female tennis player who gets attacked by terrorists, shot up, and then they turn her basically into RoboCop. She hunts down all the terrorists who are destroying Tokyo. But you had like crazy premises like this. And
if I can interrupt for a second, I mean, and in like say Indonesia, the Indonesian government was like, okay, we need to protect our own industry. So they said, okay, Chris, if you want to import one American movie, you have to produce 3 Indonesian movies.
Yeah. So some people
went, okay, so that's where companies like Rappy Films went, okay, we'll do the crazy movies like The Warrior, which and Devil's Sword and The Criminals.
Also,
so it became that same thing of like, and you'd see like the influences like Lady Terminator.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was about to get to. Like, remake exploitation came into practice then, because the way that the copyrights were handled in, say, the U.S. versus Hong Kong or Indonesia, basically, okay, what's popular right now? So that we get Lady Battle Cop, like RoboCop works. Let's do RoboCop as a hot woman. Maybe someone will watch that, and they did. Lady Terminator. Let's get like the Terminator as a hot woman and almost do a shot-for-shot remake, except for the beginning where it's like a witch and whatever, and like and put that out in the cinemas. So you kind of got remake exploitation, which is also a big thing you see in Asia. You see it in Italy as well with Patrick Viva Ancora and things like that, which is a remake of the Australian film Patrick. You don't see in Australia as much, but basically remake exploitation became a huge thing out of that in India as well with Mahakal, which is a remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, things like that.
It's awesome, by the way.
Like in India now, because all the companies are listed now on the stock market, they have to do official remakes because otherwise they'll get sued.
Oh yeah.
Correct. Yeah. But so I think when it comes to answering why was Asian exploitation cinema so interesting, Mike touched on it a little bit. There was the funding matter, but it also was like they just had to make these things like work for a very specific audience and their marketing was sound. Like they really went for blood, guts, gore, nudity, explosions, martial arts, or whatever. And that's, you get all the horror stuff coming out of like the guinea pig films from Japan again. And in Hong Kong, you got the category 3 stuff. I mean, the beginning, it was like, oh my God, we're category 3. Oh, no, this is terrible. It's not going to work for our sales. Eventually, like, we're category 3. We can do whatever the hell we want. No, and that's how Herman Yao and stuff come about.
And that's the thing. Like, so you had as well that thing of producers and everything realizing we can get a fast turnaround. We can reuse sets from other movies, we can redo stuff, and they did some very cool stuff like that where it was like I said, with the category 3s, with the remake expectations, with the influences, and the same thing, the genres changed. Like the bizarre thing of Hong Kong is if Arne appears in a category 3 movie, that's fine because he's a man.
Okay.
A woman who appears in category 3 movie.
Oh, that's a porn star.
Her career is referred to as a former porn star. And it's so frustrating because sometimes you'll talk to an actress and she'll be like, I can't talk about any of those movies.
Oh, we've tried that. We've tried interviewing like former category 3 actresses. I'm not in that movie. But you're in the movie. We can see you. Oh, that's not me. Like, no, but it is
and
you.
You
have the same
exactly
name.
that you had thing, and then you had this. It's like the same way in Japan that you've got this bizarreness of we said it before. You can almost kind of say like the kung fu movie industry or the exploitation movie industry is kind of like the porn industry. People dismiss it, but it makes all this money.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Someone's watching it.
Never watched it. Oh, I've never seen any of those movies. Like if you talk about the Bruce Lee clone movies, people in Hong Kong and Taiwan act like never heard of them, never saw them, don't know what you mean, never appeared in any of those movies. Yeah, and you're like, yes, you did.
Yeah, you kind of did, sir. We have the evidence right here in HD at 1080p, all cleaned up by Eureka. So.
The thing I do miss is when I first came to Hong Kong, absolutely everything got a cinema release. Like Albert Pyon's Nemesis played for a week. Split Second played for 2 weeks.
What a good sci-fi mix that is.
No, and it was so funny because I would meet actors and they'd be like, wait a minute, you saw my movie on the big screen? Where? Like, like a Best of the Best 2 got a cinema release here. Red Scorpion 2 with Matt McCall. Awesome. And like, I would meet actors and they'd be like, wow, I actually got a cinema release. Like, this is a real movie.
Yeah.
And
Mike, there's something I've never asked. Did they do double bills in Hong Kong or no? Or was it all single movie, single ticket?
It was single movies. And then this is where, like the old Hong Kong cinema, you would go there and you would choose your seat number, and someone would write the seat number down.
Yeah. Well, they still did that when I got here. Yeah.
But the problem is, half the time you wouldn't be able to read the seat number, so you'd be going, "Is this W2 or?"
Is that a 4 or is it an X?
In the cinema, and someone would be like, "Excuse me, that's my seat." And you'd be like, okay. But like the audience in Hong Kong is very strange. Like when they previewed Terminator 2, they put Terminator 2 in every single cinema in Hong Kong as a midnight show the Saturday before it opened.
Okay.
And the problem was, because they put it in every cinema, it didn't sell out. So audiences in Hong Kong went, "Oh, it didn't sell out the midnight show. Can't be any good."
Wow.
You know? And like there's a cinema chain in Hong Kong called UA, the UA Cinemas.
UA Cinemas, yeah.
And they're all multiplexes, but they have one queue. So every movie looks like there's a queue. Yeah, because they were like, Hong Kong audience will go, "Oh, there's only 2 people in the queue. I don't want to go see that movie."
In front of the box office, he means.
Yeah. So like
yeah.
You have that, and it's just and Hong Kong especially goes through phases where certain films, like Pretty Woman was like on the cinema here for 2 years.
Wow.
Okay, when Christopher Reeves passed away, in Hong Kong, he was not remembered as Superman. He was remembered for Somewhere in Time.
Oh yeah, they love that movie here. Yeah,
that movie
That's amazing.
played for so long in Hong Kong. Like when I remember the other week I was talking to Bruce Fontaine, and that came up in a conversation. He was like, "Yeah, when I first arrived, I was like, hang on, Somewhere in Time is 1982. This is 1988. Like, what's going on?" But
sometimes stuff sticks, man. It just sticks
with people here. And then like and the craziness of the industry, like when you made a film, if you were selling it to the Philippines buyer would say, "Give me the first reel, the third reel, and the final reel." And they would time the action.
Yeah.
"Oh, there's not enough action, I don't want to buy it." Certain actors and actresses had such selling power that you okay, if you watch Wong Kar-wai's Ashes of Time.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I just saw it recently, actually.
Okay. Joey Wong Jo-yin, is in one fucking shot in that movie. She's not in the rest of the movie. And I was always, whenever I watched it, I went, that does not look like Joey Wong in that shot.
Okay.
And then I was working on a movie called Europe Raiders that Wong Kar-wai produced. And one night we're talking, and I said, "Hey, is Joey Wong in Ashes of Time?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, because her market in Korea was so strong. The Koreans had pre-bought the movie
Joey
on
Wong.
her name. So he was like, we had to put one shot of her in there." And
that's false advertising right there, guys.
Prime example, there's a very famous Hong Kong movie poster for a movie called The Avenging Quartet. And it's Moon Lee, Cynthia Khan, Yukari Ashima, and Michiko Nichiwaki, all looking sexy in leather, all sitting on motorbikes with machine guns. That's how they got the money for the movie.
It's a great poster. It's a great poster.
There is no scene in the movie where the 4 of them are dressed like that, or one of them rides a motorbike. But it was exactly that. I was like, okay, we know how to sell the movie. This person is famous.
Yeah.
And the turnaround time, especially in like the 80s and 90s, could be ridiculous. Like I worked on Once Upon a Time in China 2 as an extra.
Okay.
We finished filming on the Sunday night. It previewed the following Saturday.
No.
And that's cutting things on a Steenbeck with negative and everything else. That's not like, your Premiere Pro program.
Movies could change very heavily from the midnight screening to the release version. Yeah, because the audience didn't respond to Arne's character. Cut Arne's character out of the movie. 1992, there was a crazy period. It was where, okay, basically imagine a week in Hollywood where in 1 week, Tom Cruise's manager is brutally assassinated.
Okay.
Someone breaks into the vault and steals the ending of Avatar 2 and is holding it for ransom.
Yeah.
All this shit went down, and literally someone had to call a Hong Kong producer and go, they've stole the ending of our movie and they want all this money. Oh, it's okay. We shot a different ending as well. Use that one. And the funny thing is, it was for a comedy movie called All's Well That Ends Well. And it's got like Leslie Jones, Stephen Chow.
There's a whole bunch of those All Well and Well films
They
too.
just re-released the Korean version. The Korean version has a heroic gunship ending. Like the rest of the movie is a comedy, but at the end of this comedy, Arne's been kidnapped. Everyone's pulling machine guns.
Yeah, better get out the guns.
Because you were like, if we do that, the Koreans will pay X, the Philippines will pay Y.
Why?
So for the longest time, it was this mad industry where you could make so much money. And I think, unfortunately, Hong Kong cinema for a few years forgot how to make Hong Kong cinema. Like,
Okay.
Everyone would always, Jackie Chan would always make the joke that in Hong Kong, we don't have special effects. We are the special effects.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
And the problem was, I think when Hong Kong movies started trying to copy Hollywood movies, it kind of lost its way for a while. And the audiences changed. Like, it used to be a very big thing here. You got to go to the cinema. I remember during the Asian financial crisis, I took a friend of mine, Ruben Langdon, who's a stuntman and motion capture guy from Avatar and all the Street Fighter and Resident Evil games. And we went to see a Wong Jing movie.
Okay.
And that movie, the cinema was packed. Everybody was enjoying it. And I said to him, because it's a feel-good movie, you're not expected to walk away and have a deep, meaningful discussion about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's purely and simply entertainment. And I think sometimes that's the problem. Stuff got lost on the way. And it's the same way, like I've had it when I interview actors or direct sometimes, where you get that terrible realization that a movie that's meant so much to you was 2 days' work to them 40 years ago. And they have no recollection of it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, okay.
Well, we don't if I could just interrupt for a little bit, we were saying to each other the other day that we don't have recollection of half the things we say in the audio columns that we do, to be either honest. We've done so many of them that effect has kind of bounced back on us. Someone will write us, go, I think you said that audio column was really cool from like 2 years ago. We're like, what audio column is that? Like, you cannot ask us about like what we said in Warriors 2 versus like, like, but it's like, there's an old Hong Kong actor called Lee Hai Sheng, who's in Warriors 2 and Prodigal Son and a whole bunch of movies. And he's this very regal kung fu master.
Oh, sure.
And I was shooting an interview with him years ago. And while the crew was changing the lighting, I was telling him, one of the movies I really like you in is Enter the Fat Dragon, where you play the Jim Kelly character. And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, no, you play an African-American. He's like, don't be ridiculous. And I'm like, no, let me show you. And I had the film on my laptop and I'm watching him, and he's literally got that look of like, that's me.
Yeah.
And you realize this was 3 or 4 days work for him 40 years ago. And he's probably never seen it since. Never had a VHS of it. As I said, there was no sell-through market here. So you meet actors and directors like, I haven't seen that movie. I don't know.
I want to interject just briefly because I want to promote y'all, and this is a really important point. The way that y'all are going. this is what I like about your commentaries, and I think what I assume you will continue to bring to commentaries. You know, if it, a textbook is interesting if you want to learn about an event but there's always that, you know, there's that angle of it's an academic piece, right? And
Sure.
there's and it gives you some facts, and you can kind of leave with this sense of like, okay, I have a better understanding of this event or this movie or whatever, right? But the thing that I think is different is and more rich and contextual is that y'all have lived this life.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
been to Shaw Brothers Studios. You've been on set.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
You've drank. You've gotten drunk with them. And this is the thing that I think is so interesting when y'all talk about just for one example. I mean, there's hundreds. At the beginning of Ricky O, you talk about how this prison was actually on Macau, not in Hong Kong.
Yes, that's
and
true.
Like that's something that, you know, it's not as interesting if you just read it, but the way that y'all tell it and the way that you have the kind of you talk about briefly you talk about the criminal justice system in Hong Kong, and then how, you know, like that you just bring a depth to it, not by being smarter than the audience or by being smarter than people that are listening, but simply because you're telling the experience from the perspective of having lived it. And I think that's really remarkable. So I hope that y'all continue to do, you know, many
Thank you. That's something I think we've been very aware of.
It's very much our approach to kind of be able to relate to, like, because I think, at least for me personally, I can't see inside of Mike's mind. Obviously, I'm not a mind reader, but I believe he believes the same. That if you approach it in a way you go, oh my God, look at that, and you have fun doing it and talking about these things, it becomes more relatable for the audience as well. And when we look at a film, like, we personally go, holy shit, that's there. That's so cool. Like, okay, let's talk about that and everything else. Yeah. So the first things I personally do when I look at a film like that is I go, oh, wow, I recognize that. I know what that is. And for the Macau one, I literally was like, I think I translated from Portuguese to English as well. I literally was like, okay, well, I immediately read that was Portuguese. I really knew that was Portuguese, and to go, okay, this must be on Macau. And I think Mike maybe knew that already, but when I saw it, I was like, holy shoot, that's definitely not the Hong Kong landscape. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think we remark on that a lot. So yeah, to be able to relate to audiences like, oh, that was there, and that's really cool. And I think, yeah, that's part of our philosophy as well. Like, you're hanging out with people like who was like, oh, that was a cool place to go. And
no, I mean, your friends. Like, I'll be perfectly honest, I came into this industry as a fan.
Yeah,
we're fans. Yeah, 100%.
2007, I was given the choice of working on The Mummy Part 3.
Okay.
Batman: The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Largo Winch. A movie called Push, and there was another movie with Josh Hartnett.
Push is a weird film.
And I was like, I'm going to go and work on The Mummy 3 because I get to work with Vic Armstrong, and I can ask him about everything he's ever done in his life. He's legendary stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like, it sounds, that was part of my thing. I was like, but Vic has stories. I want to hear Vic's stories. Like, I'm still a fan. Like, prime example, this morning I woke up to an email from the RZA.
Yeah.
And I said, I was like, hey Anna, look. Yeah, you know.
Well, I want to talk to RZA about synthesizers and samplers. So it's like...
RZA saying, hey man, I'm coming to Hong Kong. I want to reconnect.
No,
and I was like,
and
instead of going, sorry, RZA, I'm really busy, mate. You know, I was like, well, hey, the RZA's coming. You know. And the funny thing is, like, with him, when we did The Man with the Iron Fists, it was very hard for a lot of the Hong Kong crew and some of the Hong Kong actors and Chinese actors to understand the passion and the meaning some films have to him. Because
well,
we had one meeting with an actor, Lung Gayen, Beardy, and from Warriors 2 and from The Victim and everything. And the funny thing was, a lot of the time RZA would only remember character names. So RZA would be like, oh, I want to meet Beardy. And all the Hong Kong crew are like, it's Beardy. And I'm like, Lung Gayen. They're like, why is he called Beardy? I'm like, because he's got a beard. You know. And then we brought Beardy in for a meeting, And RZA was like, okay, translate this to him. I'm fighting in this movie. No, first thing was I took up martial arts because of you. Like
Wow.
my devotion to martial arts comes from you.
Wow.
We translate it for Lung Yen, and he's like, but I don't know any kung fu. I'm an actor. I just learned for the movies. And RZA, you could see, was visibly a little taken back by that.
He's like,
and then RZA's like, okay, well, in Man with the Iron Fist, I'm going to fight like you do in The Victim, as to show respect to you. And Lung Yen was like, why? And then the final straw was RZA was like, look, I love kung fu movies so much that I'm putting my music career on hold for a year so I can concentrate on making this movie, blah, 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 blah. And Lung Yen in broken English was like, music is easy. Kung fu movies are hard. Like, if I could do music, I would just do music.
Wow.
And it was just so funny because, like, RZA, like, RZA and me would joke about it because because I was like, RZA, I'm not a rap fan. I was like, we have a mutual love of kung fu movies, but like,
they're common language,
but RZA would quote like English dub dialogue, and all the Hong Kong crew and actors would get very confused, and I'd be like, oh, okay, that's how he wants you to be. He wants you to have that kind of arch performance thing. And it was just like, the funny thing was, like, same thing. He had this list of movies he wanted to buy in Hong Kong. And one of the producers tells one of the PAs, like, oh, go to HMV, buy all movies. And I was like, hey, if you can you buy them for me too?
You're better off ordering from the UK or US.
And 2 days later, the PA is like, I couldn't buy a single one of those movies. None of those movies are available.
Yeah.
So I opened my bag and pulled out like DVD-Rs because I was like, well, I copied it from my VHS or from my Laserdisc.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, these movies don't exist in Hong Kong anymore. Nobody appreciated them. Nobody restored them. So the funny thing is, you kind of got this weird, like, Hong Kong film has not been appreciated in Hong Kong the way it should have been. Like, like, prime example, something like the Alamo Drafthouse. I wish we had something like that in Hong Kong, where
well, there was a process of putting something like that together in what's that theater called in
North Point? Yeah, the State Theater.
State Theater. They wanted to do that.
Yeah, go and have dinner and go look.
Yeah. There was a moment of hope for that in Hong Kong, but then it became like, they were like, "Well, this is better off being like a hangout place for people who have like tons of cash instead of like promoting films."
And that's the problem. So,
it's a bit sad. So we were at hope for a while, and that's really close to where I am.
So very frustrating here because the same thing. There are movies and TV shows available that we're like, we worked on those, but they're not available in Hong Kong. You're like,
no, again, but again, that's why it's so important that, like, Eureka, Era 4444,
exactly, Kino Lorber, 88, Shout Factory.
Yeah,
all these
it's why it's important that they do what they do. They're putting more effort into like keeping this stuff alive, or these movies alive.
But I think this goes into something we were talking about earlier too, though. In London, if you tear down a building, you have to keep the facade because they want to respect the history.
Oh, they don't care about that here. Forget it.
It's not the new thing, right? So I think it's like ingrained in the culture.
In Hong Kong, there's what often happens is, oh, I want to knock down Arne's building. Oh, you can't. Oh no, Arne's building mysteriously caught fire. Arne's building, I was renovating it, and the stupid workers took out all the retaining walls and it fell down.
And they removed all the plumbing as well. No, but basically the reason for that also is because the amount of land that's allocated for people to live on is so limited that keeping these buildings, like Bruce Lee's old friggin' home is gone, right? I mean,
the funny thing,
they could have made a museum of that, but they were like, nah, tear it down.
When I first
Get it.
arrived, one of the things that really amazed me was that English media in Hong Kong doesn't have a fucking clue to anything in China in that's going on in the Chinese entertainment world.
Oh, interesting.
Like, the English press here will do interviews with extras. Oh, this is the most famous foreign actor in China, and you're like, he's an extra. You know, you're like, what's going on? The Bruce Lee's house, after Bruce Lee died, Alexander Fusheng rented it, and then a company rented it and refurbished it and turned it into a love hotel. So it was basically,
yeah, exactly, like come shag it where Bruce Lee used to live.
It was a love hotel with a very big sign saying love hotel.
The respect for our like stars.
About 3 or 4 years ago, one of the British English language newspapers in Hong Kong, which has done such great exposés as, we believe there's sometimes underage drinking in Hong Kong.
Okay.
We believe that sometimes drugs are present in bars and clubs.
Oh my gosh.
They did an article going, oh my God, Bruce Lee's house is a brothel. And you're like, it's not a brothel. It's this. And also you explain to him, you go, it doesn't look anything like Bruce Lee's house anymore. If you wanted to restore it to what Bruce Lee's house looked like, that would cost an additional $20 million. And it's just, in Hong Kong, it is frustrating that a lot of, very close to where Arne lives, there was this beautiful old building that was always being used in movies. And then they went, we're going to renovate it.
Yeah, they tore the whole thing down to the ground. I was like, yo. I don't think they're renovating that. It looks like the whole thing's okay, it's gone. Like the next day. Like, oh, too late now.
And even simple things like the old Golden Harvest Studios where Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, etc. shot.
Yeah.
It's
Not
now
even
a housing estate.
Yeah,
It's now been renovated and it was turned into a housing estate. They knocked everything down.
No.
There is not even a sign.
Yeah, not even a nice plaque. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And I have spoken with the Hong Kong government, and when I was at university, I would sneak away to Manchester to go to the Hacienda, which was this mad club in Manchester.
Famous club in the Acid House.
And the club is gone, and now there are apartments there. But there's a big plaque that says, the party's over. You can go home now. The Hacienda apartments built on the former site of the Hacienda nightclub.
Okay.
Golden Harvest, there's not even a sign. Bruce Lee's house, you could have put a sign up. There's a statue of Bruce Lee on the waterfront in Hong Kong.
Yeah. And Tim Sok Choi.
Paid for by Stephen Chow from Kung Fu Hustle. It wasn't paid for by the Hong Kong government.
Wow.
But it's like,
and it's in all the tourist brochures, every single one of them. It's in there. But Stephen Chow paid for it.
It's like there's a very big lack of preservation. And I think something that probably hit really home to me and Arne of just thing is, it's not necessarily lost movies from 60 years ago, 50 years ago.
No,
we had a gentleman who does a lot of the film restoration asking us if we knew anyone who had a negative of Hard Boiled.
At Hong Kong Film Mart, just walks up to us because
you go, okay, that's
you guys know
31 years ago. It's a hugely influential
predominant
movie, international release, and there's no original materials for it.
And when the guy asking us that is asking us that is not good. Like, that is bad.
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy.
Can't be any clearer about that.
Little indie movies, you're going, these big movies have been lost.
Yeah. It's part of Hong Kong culture, man.
And prime example, say the Shaw Brothers movies. The Shaw Brothers movie. Okay, imagine when James Dean died.
Mm-hmm.
They'd never re-released any of those movies.
Yeah.
So people of a certain age go, oh, there was this guy called James Dean. He was really good. The Bruce Lee movies were released time and time and time again. The Shaw Brothers movies between 1984 and 2001, 2002, when Celestial started, were not available legitimately in any way, shape, or form in Hong Kong. So
Wow.
you have a completely missing audience. Like, people were like, why would Quentin Tarantino want to put Gordon Liu in Kill Bill?
Wow.
He's this minor actor on TV, and you're like, he's Gordon Liu, he's Santa, he's the killer.
I gotta say though, there's the new generation, the young people, we're talking people in their 20s and stuff like that. They are hungry to do something creative, but they don't really have access to the tools to do it. But I have a lot of hope for that generation that's coming up now. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, the new generation's not doing it, but there's a new generation of people like in their early 20s who want to do stuff, who want to be creative again. And there was a gap in between the people who just wanted to become like, you know, lawyers and doctors and sing karaoke and had no interest in the media. But but now there's something happening. I'm not quite sure yet, but yeah, there's something happening among the new generation. But those people are doing more fashion and music and stuff now, but they want to make movies.
Even with film, it's coming back. Like,
yeah, for sure, yeah.
Like just some of the projects like I've worked on in the last year, like the Herman Yale movie, the Customs Frontline is such a love letter to classic Hong Kong action movies.
Yeah,
like it's Nicholas Jere proving he always could have been the next Jackie Chan, but like now he wants to be the next Jackie Chan, and he's delivering the action. You've got like Andy Lau has a movie coming out called I Did It My Way, which is a huge gangster epic. You've just got coming out now the When the Wind Blows, which is about the powerful Ford.
That's supposed to be a huge one. Yeah. They're working. They spent a lot of money on that.
There's certain filmmakers who are realizing, like the Anita Moy biopic. It re-sparked that love of Hong Kong, for Hong Kong movies and Hong Kong things. So as Arne said, there seems to be a new generation that wants to be very creative and wants to be involved, whereas there were, I think, kind of like two missing generations where people were like, oh yeah, but I can make more money being a banker. I can make more money doing this.
But I'm going to say something controversial to that, and people might not like this, but I think part of the blame is to lie with the generation before that, because I don't think they did everything they could to facilitate like taking on apprentices and building it up and creating an environment that was good for young talent to come in, because they stayed very much like a little club. Like, okay, we're the stars. We don't want to like, we don't believe in the music you guys are listening to. We don't believe in your opinions. We don't believe in any of that. If you like that, get out. You have to follow exactly what we're doing. That doesn't work anymore.
No, 100%. There's kind of the same thing, that there's a missing generation of Hong Kong pop stars and movie stars.
Sure, yeah. And that,
because like it sounds stupid. Like somebody sent me a thing the other day and goes, it's 1989 and Indiana Jones is fighting the Nazis. Jean-Luc Picard is, flying the Enterprise. It's 2023. The same things are happening. And you go, the same thing in Hong Kong. As Arne said, nobody was grooming the next generation.
Yeah, they weren't doing it now.
Yeah, and people like Fan Seal Wong and other people kind of fell through the gaps. And like there's a lot of talent where you just go, they never really broke out. Like there's a guy called Chin Garlock, one of the greatest stuntmen directors in the world. Chin Garlock literally bled and broke bones for our entertainment. He got famous in Hong Kong for doing a game show where he would shake his ass.
Oh, interesting.
And he said, he goes, all those stunts, all of that stuff, nobody cared about.
And he just
I go on TV and I'm stupid, and people are like, that
he's basically just the Jennifer Lopez of like Hong Kong.
But you go,
same era.
There was the old quote like from Chang Chip, which was, of course, somebody said, why are the 5 deadly venoms all so ugly? And he went, but when they do kung fu, that's where the beauty is.
Yeah.
The industry changed. There's a guy called Eddie Robin Kwan. And Teddy, how do I say this politically correct? He's a hunchback dwarf.
Okay.
And he used to be a huge singing star.
And a sex symbol.
Yeah. And I did an interview with him, and he's for the alternative rock and roll years for Discovery Channel. And he said that, he goes, I was a sex symbol. I was a singing star because I had talent. Now I wouldn't be allowed in the record company. Because they suddenly went, well, Arne, you're really good at singing, but unless you go on a huge diet and dye your hair green, we don't think it's going to work.
Yeah. Interesting.
But Chris, you've got a twinkle in your eyes, so we're going to put you through voice correct, and we're going to make you a huge star.
Yeah.
You know.
Interesting. Well, it seems like maybe creativity kind of goes in waves almost, because we talk a little bit about this right now. There are some countries that, like, even in the US, there is, I think there's a new generation of talent coming out that's kind of bored with, let's just say, Marvel movies. I mean, I enjoy them, but there's a whole generation coming up saying, hey, movies are more than just this. And so they're really pushing and doing some wild things. And, I do hope this cycle kind of goes through. And it sounds like maybe the younger generation in Hong Kong is responding. Certainly Japan is due for another wave. There's so much rich material in manga that they can pull from to make, I'm sure the next Takashi Miike is there. We could probably spend another hour just on Takashi Miike, because Arne, I've heard
I love Takashi Miike. I can go on. I can talk all about Takashi Miike all day and all night. That's a filmmaker right there, man. He said a director's only director when he's directing. Well, that guy's a director for a lot of stuff. Holy hell!
Like he sadly passed away recently. A very good friend of mine and a mentor, Albert Pyun, the director.
I spoke to him a few times. A nice guy.
Albert loved making movies.
Yes,
too much. Like, Albert would give up rights and give up stuff because he'd be like, I just want to make the movie this way. I want to do that. And that's what's missing. The people who have that passion, like, say, Takashi Miike, is exactly like, well, if I'm a director, I need to direct. I don't want to wait around for 2 years before the next project.
No, he makes a lot of stuff, and he'll shoot on anything. Like, he did Visitor Q on a DV. He can't do it anymore because of, like, the way that rights works. But he shot Visitor Q on a DV camera. Like, that's crazy. It was a V Cinema film. So the problem is now, as a result, that film's really hard to put out, like, properly on Blu-ray, because the original assets are the DV camera. But, like, it's but yeah, he's constantly working. And that guy, in Italian, there's a word called passionata, which means someone who has an extreme passion for something, and that's what he's made for, and that's what he does, and that's who Takashi Miike is. So I guess in America people look like that will come by, and eventually in Hong Kong, I think, as well. But yeah, there's definitely been a generation that was lost and skipped over, which is kind of sad. But you know what? I've confidence. I think film is like the amalgamation of all the arts. So music and fashion and painting and everything else, because you need all that to make a movie. And that is looking really healthy in Hong Kong right now, especially in, like, the last, I'd say, 8 months, things have exploded all of a sudden. The output result of that eventually will be some sort of cinema. The question is where they're going to get their funding from, because the current people are not going to fund them, but maybe different networks will do it.
Like, prime example is, like, the 2 biggest movies of the last year in Hong Kong. You cannot get 2 more opposite. One was Louis Koo's Hero of Tomorrow, which he poured his life and soul into for 5 years, financed it, everything, blah, blah. Huge science fiction epic. Did huge box office in Hong Kong. It just got beaten at the box office by a very Hong Kong drama, which came out of nowhere. And it's that thing where you go, the market's changing, the market's waking up. People are going, it's no longer as star driven. Now people are going, if it's a good movie, I'll go see it. If it's a bad movie, it doesn't matter who's in it. I don't want to grab that movie. So hopefully, yeah.
I think that there are at least 4 questions that I have on my screen that we didn't get to, but I think this feels like a good place to pause. We have to do this again in the next year time. I feel like I could talk to y'all for hours.
Yeah.
But what an amazing introduction to y'all.
Oh, thanks.
I think your passion shows so clearly. We talked about this a little bit before we started recording, so I guess I could give you a chance to make your pitch here, so to speak. What are the types of commentaries and special features that you would like to be a part of that you're currently not being asked to do?
The Andy Sidaris movies.
The Andy Sidaris movies we were talking about the other day. Yeah,
sure.
Hard Ticket to Hawaii. Like that's an amazing film. We recently did our first Japanese audio commentary. I don't know if we could say for who. Not yet. No, but that was really exciting. I'd love to go to. I shoot other documentary stuff for other people, so I'll be going to Japan this year as well. And then we'd love to go to Japan and interview some of the Japanese filmmakers down there. Definitely love to do some Thai films, Korean films, Indonesian films, like stuff like that. And again, Italian films. We've started doing canon films, which is really cool. We did Chuck Norris movies and stuff. I'd love to do American Ninja too, because that was a huge movie for me as a kid.
That's the thing. There's certain
and Avenging Force and stuff like that.
Avenging Force is Sam Furstenberg making the best of all time, and it's
that's a great movie.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. There's certain movies that sometimes I'm like, okay, that was a weird choice, or what was funny for me is Kino Lorber just put out the Missing in Action box set.
Yeah.
And the first movie has the director talking about it. The second movie has the director and the writer talking about it.
The third movie's us.
And the Missing in Action 3, they're kind of like, it's the illegitimate son. Get Mike and Arne. And
Mike and Arne, yeah.
People seem to have responded to that commentary really, really well, because I think people realized that it was very much we're not trying to convince you that Missing in Action 3 is as important a piece of cinematic culture as Citizen
Kane.
Yeah. But it's fun, and canon films are fun, and I think that's
that film is an interesting benchmark for canon as well. So we got lucky there.
I think that's sometimes the thing, that there's certain movies where you can hear commentaries or people's responses from other sides and suddenly go, this is so different. This is not what I was expecting. Bizarrely last night, I was listening to the commentary on Possession.
Okay.
And it's just so funny because the director's going, oh yeah, Isabella Gianni, she wanted to be in my movie. And I was like, I'm not sure about it. So she went in the bathroom and slashed her wrists. And then I decided that she was right for it.
Jesus.
Going, what? And then he's talking about how the madness of that movie, how they made him shoot it in English because they were like, it'll have an international appeal and we can use English speaking actors. And he goes, but then we dubbed it for France where it was really successful. And I think that's the thing. It's, without sounding stupid, like I said, Arne and myself, the movies and the music we listen to is not all one specific genre. There's there are like ridiculous movies that one of us would be like, oh no, you don't understand the importance of sewing machines in the 17th century. This is my favorite fucking thing of all time. It's and it's just, sometimes I think that's the thing, is that as well, it's trying not to be pretentious in a commentary, trying not to be, this is how it was, this is what you should pay attention to.
And don't make it look like you're reading off notes the whole time.
Sometimes there are things where, especially because of the HD, where you're suddenly going, holy shit, that was so-and-so. That's someone I know. I didn't even know that.
There was one movie where we saw a plane in the background. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was one that Joseph
and
who ones
like that,
were like, there's a plane in the background.
Or you're going, wait a minute, with HD, like with the Jackie Chan movies, sometimes you're going, with HD, it's kind of clear when Jackie's being doubled. And there's stuff like that. And there's sometimes when you get to ask someone, like when we did a commentary for Lethal Panther with Godfrey Ho,
That was awesome.
And it was great because Godfrey has no filter. So
yeah, he's
wasn't like,
amazing.
Yes, I remember working with Chris Haskell. Perhaps we didn't get along well. Godfrey was like, oh, that guy was a dick. I hated it.
I go, hey Godfrey, that coloring is really cool in that scene. Like, you know, all the colors got people wearing. Goes, oh, those are shirts they showed up and had nothing to do with that. I was like, oh, thanks, man.
And it was so nice because it was Godfrey completely, you know, we're going, oh, well, obviously this guy was wearing this shirt in reference to the great Joe Fiorello. No.
Godfrey, how'd you get permission to shoot up that graveyard? Oh, I just shot it up.
No, yeah, like, and the thing is, really cool. Sometimes it's hard because doing commentaries isn't easy. Like, I've done a couple of solo commentaries and I hate them because it's very easy to just get into, I'm just going to read my notes and I'm going to just waffle. It's always nice to have someone to bounce off, and I've been lucky that I have Mr. Venema, I have Brandon Ben I do commentaries with sometimes, and we're able to bounce off with Godfrey. It was great when I did the one with Ronnie Yu. The thing as well is that people forget is sometimes it's schedules and budgets, and like for Hong Kong, we just came out of 3 years of COVID, where
we're still not out. We're still wearing masks here, man. Yeah. Like we're not out of it yet.
I can't come and do an interview with you because I don't want to be in a room with you, and I don't want to. Thing, and sometimes as well, it's very frustrating, but it's part of life. Sometimes I've called people up and I'm like, Chris, we want to talk to you about this movie, and you're like, I absolutely hate that movie. I hate everybody involved. I don't ever want to talk about that movie. And I'm like, oh.
I asked one person they want to talk about the movie. They're like really polite to me normally. Like, hey, you want to talk about this movie? He just wrote back no, like in the email. Wow. I was like, wow, okay, sure, I guess not.
The opposite of what y'all are saying. I just saw, and I'm kind of saying it this way on purpose. Sergei Eisenstein's Ivan the Terrible Part 2, and that movie is like a fever dream. Like it's only an 85-minute movie. And 60 minutes in, it switches to color, and it's almost like the movie descends into hell, and there's a weird dance sequence, and there's like, it's just this bizarro, like, what the hell is happening? And the commentary is, so Sergei there, you know, what he was doing in this thing. And it's like this boring academic commentary, and I'm like,
Jesus,
where's the passion?
No, exactly.
That sounds like
there's a movie, called Hellzapoppin' from the 1930s.
Oh my! I love you for saying that. This is my comedy nobody talks about.
It's one of those I was saying to Arne about it. I was going, if you were a projectionist, you probably had a heart attack because it literally
looks crazy. Yeah,
no, because it's shooting. The scene is the three of us are talking in this room. And you're getting the little dots appearing in the corner saying, the next reel is coming. Suddenly, there's a herd of wildebeest crashing across the screen. And if you're the projectionist, you're going, oh, God, I just fucked up. Then as the dust settles, it's the three of us going, did you just see those wildebeest? That's kind of fucked up.
There's a movie like that. There's a movie like that by a director named William Castle called The Tingler. And halfway through, in the movie, it just cuts to black. And it goes because they just like it's just black, and all of a sudden it goes, everybody scream for your lives. Yeah. It's like a voiceover, and apparently it worked because the movie is about a creature that is in a box and it grabs onto you. If you don't scream, you will die.
Exactly. So, and it's the same way sometimes. Like, okay,
great movie
called The Master Strikes. It's a Hong Kong movie starring a very good friend of mine, Casanova Wong, Ching Sudong, the action director. The English dub version is a far better movie than the Chinese version because the English dub version, the reels are in the wrong order.
Wow.
So the English dub version is about a schizophrenic hero, you know, because he's like talking to you and then suddenly he's punching
it's basically Memento is what it is. It's basically Memento. I've never ever seen that movie.
Accidental
Memento. When I finally got a Chinese language version, I was like, wow, this is a really boring movie. This is not what I was expecting.
Yeah,
You know,
if it's
and
boring, just cut it up and change the
Yeah,
reels.
and it's that same thing that sometimes, you know, when you talk to people and they explain the stuff that should have been in the movie, or the scenes that were cut for just the wildest reasons, or that weren't finished. Like,
there's a lot of sad stuff like that.
and it's just, and the same thing. Like, I love it when I watch a movie in this country and learn stuff that I didn't know before.
Sure.
Like, like, and sometimes when you learn stuff, like, I don't know who it was, but somebody, we were doing a commentary and somebody pointed out at one point we discuss the popularity of the Airwolf helicopter.
Yeah,
So,
they play that theme at the ATM machines here every now and again. The ATM machine around the house, they always play the dun, 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 dun. Feels awesome when you're punching your ATM number.
That during, I was in South Africa to do a movie, and everyone's office I went to, it was very weird. Like 90% of the people in the film industry had a photograph of themselves with the Airwolf helicopter.
Oh, I have a photograph with a helicopter.
You know, and I was asking, and they went, because of apartheid, they couldn't bring like Jan Michael Vincent and Ernest Borgnine to South Africa to promote the show.
So they
brought
helicopter. Yeah.
And it was that weird thing, and I was going, okay, that works. And you know, and certain movies that hit in certain territories, like I always remember we were going to the premiere of Drunken Master 2 in 1994. And there's me, Bruce Fontaine, Ken Goodman, and Gary Daniels.
Yeah.
And we're having lunch in the notorious Chunking Mansions before we go to the premiere.
Dun, dun, dun.
And this waiter walks up and goes, "Excuse me, I recognize you from the movies." And Gary goes, "Oh yeah, which movies of mine have you seen?" And the guy went, "No, not you." And says to Bruce and Ken, you're in Kickboxer King." I started like rolling off about all these like IFD movies.
Wow.
IFD forever, man.
And he's going on about like, you know, what movies were successful. And he was saying like how the Hong Kong movie, The Heroic Trio, was the most successful movie in Pakistan that year. And we were like, what? Like Speed wasn't popular. And he went, no, he went, a movie about a bomb on a bus in Pakistan. That's not something we want to watch. You know, he was like, superheroes is something different. And it's that weird thing of sometimes when certain people, you know, you meet them or they've triggered something from a movie, or, you know, like, okay, it's a little bit off to like, and also it's when you realize that certain countries didn't get certain things. Yeah. I was shooting a movie called Abduction with Scott Adkins. And we shot that movie in China and Vietnam. And I hired a very good friend of myself and Arne's, Mike Chan, to play the role. And the scene is meant to be Scott Adkins is drowsily waking up, and the medical attendant is like, "Good morning, Vietnam."
Oh, damn it.
And it'll be funny. Rolling, action. Mike Chan. "Good morning, Vietnam." Director, come. "Good morning, Vietnam." And we're all shouting, and Mike is sending Arne messages like, "Everyone's being very rude to me. Everyone's shouting at me."
I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, he saw the film in French. He's from Montreal. He has no idea what you're talking about.
Good morning, Vietnam. And so he had no point of reference. Like, why would they all be shouting at me?
He's like, they're getting me to yell at this guy in this scene. It makes no sense. I'm supposed to be working at a hospital.
Everybody else, like Harry, another friend of ours, Harry DeYoung was there as a boom operator. He's going, "Good morning, Vietnam." Yeah, and it was just that same thing of going, to us, that's an incredible reference. To Mike Chan,
none. I'm like, he fucking saw it in French, man. Like, he doesn't understand what you're talking about.
Like, that you have it here that certain actors, you'll be like, "Oh my God, you're the star of this movie," and they're like, you're aware of that film? You've seen that film?
Nice.
Like when I first came to Hong Kong,
It does happen.
Bolo Yeung could not get arrested in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
If Bolo Yeung ran naked down the streets of Hong Kong people would just go. All the Westerners would be going, it's Bolo, yeah. But Bolo had zero market in Hong Kong. But Bolo was clever enough to realize I can go and make movies in America. You know, and then
Or America themed movies in Hong Kong, yeah.
And it's that weird thing of certain people hit in certain markets, and you know, like it sounds really stupid, but like I said on about before, sometimes you learn stuff in Hong Kong every day. Like there's stuff where you find out you're talking to them and they're like, oh yeah, well I used to do that, but now I do. I used to be a triad. I used to be a stuntman. I used to do this.
Okay. At least a few times a year, something really weird gets discovered. You're like, excuse me, what? That happens it does happen every now and again. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, there was not to go back to Miike, but his movie Shinjuku Triad Society.
Yes, part of the trilogy, correct.
Yeah, which is a crazy part of his history because it's such an artfully made film, and those three movies are. But there's real life gangsters in that, and I think or former gangsters. I don't know exactly where they were, but I was watching another one the other day. I was watching in Japan. It was Graveyard of Honor, the Fukusaka movie. And
Miike remade that as well.
Which
yes, correct.
And they got a real life former Yakuza member to be an actor in the film, and so I think the connection. This is a topic that maybe we don't have time to get into now, but maybe where it's fascinating the criminal life movies are kind of cool, right? So they might just either finance a movie or get involved or something. Just because
no, I mean 100%. Like,
if I could respond to that really quickly, well, the thing about those movies was there's two aspects to it. One, there was some money laundering going around, so they'd be there. But the movie that really, Shinjuku Triad Society is very important to Miike because I believe it was his first cinematic release. But the way that Miike got really popular in Europe and some other parts of America was because of Dead or Alive, and specifically, I don't know if you've seen Dead or Alive, but the ending of Dead or Alive involves it is wild. I'm not going to spoil it here, but it is so freaking cool. And the reason he was allowed to do that was the script had a very normal Yakuza movie ending, and the film's got some weird stuff happening and which makes the ending work. But Miike discovered that film specifically was used to, it was used for basically money laundering. And he discovered that, it's in the Tom Mess book as well. And he discovered, so basically I can do whatever I want for the ending. Just finish this thing so you can put out. He goes, oh, so you guys don't really care what I do with the ending? They go, no, just finish the damn thing. Well, how about this? They're like, yeah, go ahead and do that. So he just did it. Like the producers were kind of unaware of that. And then, but that changed everything. I mean, that movie is, on my opinion, one of the most important V cinema films ever made because it had all the stars. The show was in it and all those guys. And basically, it kind of, for European audiences, that blew it up. Like that was the detonator for a lot of people going, yo, Japanese cinema is crazy. It's wild. It's really fun. So yeah, no, I love Dead or Alive.
Like with Hong Kong cinema, the same thing. Like me and Arne have often laughed about. There's a Hong Kong actor called Danny Lee from The Killer.
Yeah.
Danny Lee has played a policeman so much. He believes he is a policeman. And
people believe he's a policeman. I'm pretty sure he knows what he is. Yeah.
He can walk up to an accident and start talking to the cops, and they will be going, oh yeah, there was a guy, Mike Leeder, riding a motorbike, and he hit the wall, and blah, 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 blah. The police salute him, he salutes them. We were shooting a movie in Wan Chai, which is like the red light district of Hong Kong, and some young gangster guys came on set demanding money, for protection, and Danny Lee just walked up to them in his uniform with a police badge, went, ID cards, please. And these three young tribe boys gave him their ID cards. He was like, okay, Arne, take them to the police station. Like, you know. And the same thing with the gangster thing here. I was shooting the live action trailer for the Sleeping Dogs video game.
Okay.
And I called one of the Triad guys in Causeway Bay. I said, hey, I'm filming in your area tonight. And he was like, oh, yeah, sure. Just let me know so I can tell my guys. I went, oh, we're going to be blowing up police cars and shooting them. And he was like, oh, I come down and have a look. And there's a scene in like a Triad disco. And I remember having to tell the director, okay, some of these people who look like triads and hookers and everything are going to disappear as the night progresses. And he went, why? I went, because they're really triads and hookers. And they've got to go off and do business. Yeah, like.
By the way, Triad Disco would be a great name for a punk rock band. That'd be a great name for a punk rock band.
And the thing is, the Hong Kong film industry, there has been so much of a hand-in-hand, shall we say, association, because especially during the peak of it, a lot of gangsters realized, you know, filmmaking is a good way to clean money, to launder money.
And
there's a lot of producers and actors and people who have, shall we say, backgrounds. And I won't mention the producer's name, but there's one producer, and very publicly, he had a falling out with the director.
Yeah.
And the director the next day got beaten up and had his teeth knocked out. And everybody went to this investor, the producer went, aha, we know it was you. And he's like, no. He goes, but I told him, don't swear. Swearing will make your teeth fall out.
Yeah.
All the thing.
Wow.
And then the same producer, some other gangsters came and fired guns at his door. And the police and everyone asked him, and he went, wasn't me. It was my door. They shut my door.
They hate my door.
Me.
Yeah.
Maybe you should ask my door what happened.
Like,
It's nothing to do with me.
Wow.
And there's always been a crossover. Like,
I mean, when they were making Casino and stuff like that, surely there were some Las
that was
Vegas.
financed by Broken Tooth himself, you know. And the funny thing of that is Simon Yam. Simon Yam is very well known for playing a gangster and everything. Simon Yam's brother is the head of the Organized Crime and Triad Bureau. And Simon Yam always jokes that my brother would be like, oh, I'm looking for Arne Venema. And, you know, Simon would be like, oh, just come to the location tonight. But it's that thing of, you go, wait a minute, you know that guy is a gangster. Like in Hong Kong society, if I say I'm a gangster, the police can arrest me just by me saying it. There's a Johnny To movie, Election. And they couldn't use the poster in Hong Kong
because of the symbols.
The poster in Hong Kong had the various hand signals, like ninja magic, but like of being
that's
a triad.
illegal.
And it's like these very bizarre things. The police and the triads pray to the same god. Like if you go to a police station, you'll see there's a shrine and there's a red-faced General Kwan.
Yes.
If you go to a triad hangout, there's a shrine with a red-faced General
Which
Kwan.
sometimes with a little red light behind it as well.
Yeah. And so there's always been a crossover. And I will say that some of the nicest people I've ever met have been gangsters. You know? And some of the best movies have been because gangsters financed them and gave people freedom and said, you know, okay, I'm not going to sit next to you going, what is the artistic content of this movie? Why is this like this? You know, they're like, here's $7 million. Go make me a fucking movie.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. So that's also one of the reasons the industry slowed down a lot. So
because it stopped, you think, because it slowed down?
Yeah. There's a lot more rules now, and for doing that stuff, you can't do that stuff anymore to the extent. So
like it used to be, like, because often you'll watch a Hong Kong movie and go, wow, the police are being portrayed as like corrupt and everything, like, and then the movie will still say produced with the Association of the Police. What used to happen is you would just hand the police a script that said, the police are lovely, the police are wonderful. And the police would go, yeah, okay, you can use our equipment, you can use our facility.
And then you change.
Oh, we rewrote the script while we
If
were
you said these
working.
artistic changes during the production, you know, there's an issue in the edit. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same with a permit. Like in Hong Kong, okay, when we did Sleeping Dogs, we have a motorcycle and car chase through the streets of Hong Kong with machine guns, with stunts, everything. We had a permit for one police car to drive in the daytime at normal speed. But because we have a permit, we are able to say, but I thought my permit covered all these other things.
Wow.
You know, so there's still, you can still get away with stuff. It's just
Another way to do it.
There's a separate podcast I would love to record with y'all about and I don't know the best way to say this quickly, but when I was in Indonesia for high school, corruption wasn't something that was necessarily bad. And
no. Okay,
100%.
Like, okay, you'll love it. When we shot the Raid 2, okay, for the first time in Indonesia, they got police permission to do the car chase, to block stuff. I arrived with the Hong Kong car stunt team, and I'm like, we're going to have problems. And like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you've got this location for Monday, this location for Tuesday, this location for Wednesday, and so on. They're like, yeah, every Monday we can film at the courthouse. I'm like, we film car chases in sequence because cars get broken, cars get damaged,
destroyed.
Yeah, so every night we would have to go back and fix the cars. The problem we were having is in the morning, oh, this is Chris. He's in charge of the area. Oh, let me pay you some money, Chris. So that you can treat your police for some
At
lunch.
night, it was Jason. He was in charge of the area.
You would leave and Arne would come. And I'd have to pay him some money. Then after lunch, Arne would leave and Joe Fiorello would come. And then someone would say to Joe Fiorello, oh, but I want to go home. Oh, no, the street is blocked. They're filming. Who's blocking the street? Oh, it's some Westerners and some Chinese people. This is Indonesia. I am Indonesian. I want to go home. Okay, you give me $20. So we're filming a car chase, and suddenly there's some guy with his family on a scooter driving the wrong way towards us.
You're driving this car like a zillion miles an hour. Yeah.
And the police, and we're telling the police, and they're like, oh, you're very lucky you didn't hit him. We're like, but the road was closed. Yeah, but he wanted to go home. So yeah, corruption in Indonesia is a way of life. And yeah, it's
so many stories. Okay, we'll have to do this again, and we can just share stories because I got out of trouble so many times. You know, I'll just share one thing really quick, and then we can wrap up.
Sure.
I had it back in 1996 to 2000 when I lived there. If you got caught with marijuana, even marijuana, it was the death penalty if they chose to prosecute you.
Yeah.
And so I had two friends that were there on a Tuesday at school and were not there on a Wednesday. They didn't die, but their family was notified, hey, your son was caught with something and you have to leave now because they are choosing to make an example of your son. And you know, it was just random, basically random, right? Because I went to an American school, there was a Dutch school, there was a British school, there was a Japanese school. It was just random, and they would pick different, you know, whatever. You know, if what they told the parents when they were kind of coming over there was if it gets to the level of basically like where there's kind of local police, like street police involved, you can probably get out of it. But if it gets to a certain level, then you can't get out of it. So you had to figure out how much it was worth to you not to let it get to that level.
Jesus Christ.
And it was like a financial decision, basically. Right?
Well, no,
so anyway.
That's like, so I'll use this to wrap it up from the Raid 2. Bruce Law, my stunt coordinator, had 200 shirts shipped over that all said Bruce Law stunts.
Okay.
10 of, and we got 190 of them. 10 of them didn't arrive.
Where'd they go? Where those shorts
10 of
go?
them were taken by customs. I got Kung Fu Bob and his friend to send me 200 shirts I paid for that I could give to the stunt guys and to the actors and everything.
Yeah.
I got 10.
Oh shit.
And Bruce Law, God bless him, summed it up perfectly. Well, Mike, all my shirts are the same design. So one for Chris, one for Arne, one for Mike, finished. You had 20 different designs. One for Chris, one for Mike, one for another one for Chris.
Yeah. They went through the whole range.
Actually, it's your fault, but you go, that is the crazy.
They got bored of the first designs, and the newer ones
some of
are
those
like,
countries,
well,
the same in the
good mix.
Philippines. Like, Arne knows better. I was shooting a movie and there was a dead body in the river, and we called the police, and the police said, "Does it look like it died of natural causes?"
If it's floating in the river, probably not. No,
and like jabbed the body and went, "Oh, it looks like it just drowned." Oh, in that case, just call these people. Stuff like that. Where you just go. It's
interesting.
It can be mad, but
I love it though. There's a chaos that I love. Y'all's passion for the local culture, regional culture, film, for art, all comes through very naturally. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having
us.
2 hours. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. There you go.
And I hope we can do this again in the future.
Sure.
I really appreciate the time.
Just let us know. Happy to do it. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank y'all again, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bye-bye.